Hello friends, welcome to you all in this lecture series of Engineering Chemistry from Bhatu University. I am telling you within the lecture itself that what type of questions are there or on which topic the multiple choice questions can be asked. You can just concentrate on the lecture so that during the lecture itself I am telling you what type of questions are asked and on which topic what type of questions can be possible, tricky questions also. So that you will be confident and any type of question if it is asked, if you understand the concept, you can solve it very easily. So let us share the screen. Okay, so this is your unit number 3. Why this particular title slide I have taken? Because you can see at the background some metal design is there. Okay, and that it seems to be corroded. So that's why I have shown this title slide. Okay, so let us start. So first of all, we have to see the definition of corrosion. Corrosion is the destruction of metal. As many times you see that any destructed part of metal, what we call it in Marathi as lokhandache ganjne vagare. Generally, iron we are using as a metal in most of the applications, and that is the mostly corroding medium or mostly corroding metal which you observe in our day-to-day life. But you should know that the destruction of metal requires a lot of maintenance. It means due to destruction of metal, we require a lot of maintenance for repairing and for doing the necessary things. That's why it is very necessary to study the corrosion and to have the measures of the corrosion. Before proceeding further, I would like to mention you that whatever the lectures we are taking, that lectures are being recorded here and that lectures will also be posted on YouTube. Okay. So first of all, as we know, the destruction, the corrosion is nothing but oxidation reaction, which you call it as destruction of metal. It means in terms of chemical language, if you see, that is the oxidation reaction. But why this occurs or what happens exactly with the oxidation? So there is a destruction of metal. It means metal got destructed. There is a rusting of metal or destruction of metal. So this is possible by chemical or electrochemical reactions which are taking place on the surface of metal. Which type of reaction? Chemical or electrochemical reactions are taking place on the metal surface, and that is said to be a corrosion. Mainly corrosion is of two types. This is the dry corrosion and other is called as wet corrosion. The dry corrosion is also known as a direct chemical corrosion or atmospheric corrosion, and wet corrosion can be called as immersed corrosion or electrochemical corrosion. So with this, we'll proceed to the next part. Basically, we need to know why the corrosion occurs. What are the basic reasons for the corrosion? Okay, and these are the various reasons for corrosion. Why actually corrosion reaction occurs? Actually, we know that the metals are existing in the nature in combined form. How we extract the metals? Metals are available under the earth crust. So how we extract them? So we need to extract that metals by using some metallurgical operations or some refining process. Okay, we have to extract the metals. Extraction of metals is the process, and we know that all the metals, almost all the metals, are in the impure form. They are in the compounded form. They may be in the form of their oxides, sulfides, sulfates, carbonates, nitrates, etc. And that we have to brought to the earth surface, and then we need to purify that metals. It means metals generally, or metals are existing in combined form. What happens? Actually, metals, when they are in the combined form, they are at thermodynamically stable state. It means they are highly stable. Okay, but when we are at, or we can say they are at lower energy levels. They are at lower energy level, or we can say they are at thermodynamically stable state. When the energy is to be supplied to extract these metals, so during extraction process, they get energy and they their potential energy increases, and that's why they are at the higher energy level. It means they are unstable. You know that if lower energy level is there, then they are stable. But if they are at higher energy level, they are unstable. Why they are unstable? Because they are at higher energy level. They have gained some energy, and so that's why they are unstable. There is a natural tendency of the metals to go to their original position and that's why they try to revert back, and that's why the corrosion occurs. It means corrosion is destruction of metal due to chemical or electrochemical reactions in which the metals are converted into their various compounds, or we can say compounded forms. It may be like, it means when we are extracting the metal, metal is in the pure state. Now the metal is having tendency to convert into unstable state by forming the oxides, sulfides, chlorides, sulfates, and etc. Okay, so these are the various reasons by which we can say there is a corrosion. Now, remember that what you can see here, the metallic ore or the metal part which we have extracted, or which we can mineral or metal in the combined form. So in the combined form, that is converted into pure metal, or we can say pure metal is at higher energy. Okay, I will show you with the energy diagram. Let us consider this is axis or y-axis, or we can say the potential energy axis. We can say it is potential energy. So when the metal compounds are there, ores are there, okay, I will say metal compounds or metal ores. So they are at lower energy level. And when we are converting them into pure metal, they are going to be at higher level. This is pure metal. Okay, this is metal oxide and this is pure metal. So what happens? As these are at lower energy level, it means they are stable, and this is unstable because at higher energy level. So when we are preparing the metals, or when we are extracting the metals into pure form, that are having again natural tendency to convert back into their compounded form. It may be metal oxide, it may be metal sulfide, nitrate, chloride, etc. So that's why this is the reason by which we can say the metals are undergoing corrosion. Okay, we will also see why some metals do not undergo corrosion. So let us see one by one. So first of all, we'll see the dry corrosion. So dry or atmospheric corrosion, or we can say direct chemical corrosion. Why it is said to be direct chemical corrosion? Because there is a chemical reaction during this corrosion. Actually, everywhere there will be chemical reaction, but in next case, we'll see that there are electrochemical reactions. So here, as if the atmospheric gases are responsible for this corrosion, that's why it is said to be dry or atmospheric corrosion, or we can say direct chemical corrosion. So here, remember the definition. This is the destruction of metal. In the previous case, when we are defining about the corrosion, we have mentioned that the corrosion is destruction of metal. Yes, metal guns, that is corrosion. What we are adding here, the destruction of metal. But why or how? So it is due to chemical reactions. Okay, due to chemical reactions occurring on the metal surface, which are due to attack of various atmospheric gases. Various atmospheric gases may be oxygen, carbon dioxide, sulfur trioxide, hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, chlorine, and etc. etc. Many other gases may also be responsible for corrosion, or we can say they can attack on the metal, and that's why that is said to be dry corrosion. Okay, so this can be a definition, various other gases. So though the multiple choice questions are being asked, this can be asked on this topic, that what type of reactions are occurring. So here chemical reactions are occurring. In wet corrosion, electrochemical reactions are occurring, right? So which gases are responsible, or which of the following molecules are responsible for dry corrosion? So if the gaseous molecules are there, like these examples, that can be in the examination. It means once the question is asked to you, it will be, the answer should be clicked in your mind, that you will able to justify the answer in fraction of seconds. So the next part is mechanism of dry corrosion. So let us see the mechanism of dry corrosion due to oxygen. It means here we have to see the mechanism. Mechanism means what? The detailed pathway, how the reaction occurs, how the corrosion occurs, what are the various steps. So we have to see, we have to identify the multiple steps in which that reaction occurs or that corrosion occurs, and that there are 4 steps. So if you see the diagrammatically, here there is a metal, this is a metal surface, metal particles, or we can say metal atoms are at the surface, and these are the oxygen molecules, okay, which are in the atmosphere. These are the oxygen molecules. There is oxygen double bond. Now what happens? these oxygen molecules are adsorbing on the metal surface, which are shown here. Okay. So this oxygen molecule is adsorbing on the metal surface. Just adsorb, AD. Okay, adsorption. Okay, there is no direct chemical bond, just there is a physical deposition, we can say. We know the difference between absorption and adsorption. So we are talking about adsorption. That is not being passed inside. So it is not absorption, it is adsorption. Okay. So these are the metal particles or atoms at the surface, and this oxygen is deposited on that metal. So the first step is adsorption of metal on the surface. Okay. Actually, diagram you may not require to draw the diagram, but you will understand the process. So just deposition. So these dotted bonds are shown. It means dotted lines are shown. They are not exactly the bonds. Just there is some force of weak force of attraction. Then in the second step, there is a dissociation of oxygen. It means that there is, as you know, there is oxygen-oxygen double bond. So this double bond will be broken in the next step. And here you can see that in the second step, there is a dissociation of oxygen molecule and oxygen-oxygen double bond will be broken. So once the oxygen-oxygen double bond will be broken, then the third step is there is a loss of electron by metal and gain of electron by oxygen. As you know, the metals are electropositive. Metals are electropositive means they are having higher tendency to lose electrons. So they will have tendency to lose electron. As the metal is losing electron, therefore, you know that if metal is losing electron, which charge will develop on that? There will be a positive charge, right? On when this metal is shifted, when electrons are shifted or lost, there will be positive charge on the metal. And when this oxygen is gaining that electron, there will be negative charge on the oxygen. So here we have not shown the number of charges in the diagram. It is just symbolic representation. You can see here the metal particles are metal atoms are being shown as positive particles, and here the oxygen is showing as a negative particle. Okay, here. So don't consider it as one charge or two charges. So just I have shown the negative charges. And then when there is a formation of positive and negative charges, there is a formation of electrostatic. There will be electrostatic force of attraction, and that's why there will be formation of metal oxide in the fourth step. So these are the four steps in which there is a formation of metal oxide molecule on the surface, and in this way we can show it. So let's see the reactions and actual steps. So let us see the reactions and actual steps. So these are the steps. Okay, you can see these are the same steps which we have seen 1, 2, 3, 4, which we have made. So the same steps are there that we have written: adsorption of oxygen molecule, dissociation of oxygen, then loss of electron by metal and gain of electron by oxygen, and then formation of metal oxide film on the surface of metal. But see the reactions here. You can see some reactions which are written in the books. They may be somewhat difficult. Doesn't matter. You should understand the concept. What happens exactly? So metal is there and metal loses some electron, and that forms metal positive particles. Some metals can lose 1 electron, some metal can lose 2 electrons, and accordingly, according to the valency, the respective charges will be formed on the metal surface. And we know that oxygen, so half, here I have written the reaction, still I am showing you. Half oxygen molecule, it means one atom of oxygen is gaining the electron. Okay, how much electron it requires? As its valency is 2, so it requires 2 electrons. It will wait for 1 electron if there is a single electron availability here. And accordingly, there will be formation of oxygen -2 charge. It means in this way, there is formation of metal. Suppose here metal 2+ particles are formed and oxygen 2- particles or ions are formed. Then we can show the reaction as metal oxide formation, MO. Both are having 1:1 proportion, or we can say their proportion will be in this way, as the valency is same here in this case. But some metals can have different formulae. For example, if it is sodium, then we know that 2 sodium require, so 2 sodium atoms are required for oxygen, for oxide formation. If it is calcium oxide, magnesium oxide, it is 1:1 proportion. Similarly, if it is aluminum oxide, then Al2O3 such type of molecules. So here, I have shown the simpler reaction or general reaction in the form of metal oxide formation. This metal oxide may have any formula in this way, M2ON or Na2O, MgO, Al2O3, such type of metal oxides can be formed. Okay. So let us proceed to the next part. Now we have to see types of metal oxide film or nature of metal oxide film. Here, what does we have to see? Metal oxide film. Once there is a formation of metal and oxygen reaction, so there is formation of metal oxide. Generally, metal oxides are formed because in air, oxygen is in the more quantity. Oxygen is the largest, we can say, amount of gas which is responsible for corrosion. So that oxygen and metal forming metal oxide, and we need to see nature of metal oxide film, or it is also called as types of metal oxide film. So there are 4 types of metal oxide film. One as porous, you might know non-porous, unstable, and volatile metal oxide film. So these are the 4 forms of metal oxide film. By the name implies, porous, it means that is having small holes, that is having micro holes, or we can say pores. Non-porous, it doesn't have any pores or holes. Unstable, yes, the name itself, unstable, it is not stable. It means it will be fluctuating or it will be reverted back immediately. And volatile, it vaporizes. So these are the 4 types of metal oxide films. I will show you how to remember the examples, because here anybody can remember these 4 examples: porous, non-porous, unstable, and volatile. Anybody can remember, but the trick is in the memorizing the examples. So I will tell you the trick also. First of all, we'll see porous. It means as it is porous, it is having holes. So it is acting as non-protective film, because as the film is formed and that film is having some holes, so oxygen can pass. Okay, oxygen can pass from that holes, and further corrosion will continue. Okay, it means if the metal oxide film is porous, having small holes, oxygen will pass inside that holes. From that holes, it will reach to the metal surface, and there will be corrosion. There will the corrosion will continue, we can say. Okay, and that's why this film acts as a non-protective film. It doesn't protect. It allows the corrosion to occur or to continue. Now, examples are, so oxide films of iron, especially steel. Okay, iron from steel. Then this sodium, magnesium, potassium, calcium. What you find from this sodium, magnesium? Okay, sometimes from the level you may have difficulty. So you can remember in the form of their symbols, because you will remember them in pictorial method. Okay, in picture form you can remember them. Sodium, magnesium, then potassium K, and then this is calcium. So what you find? What is the similarity here? Sodium, magnesium, potassium, calcium, these are S block elements, first group elements. It means you can remember that first group elements are responsible for, or they are forming such a type of metal oxide film, porous metal oxide film. Many times the reaction is asked in examination, so we have to write the reaction also. Actually, we have to identify the reaction also being present type of examination. So the questions may be asked as, what type of films are formed in following molecules? So type of film, suppose one particular example is given. Suppose sodium is given as example. If there is no straight question, then another question will be, sodium will be given to you, and it is asked that what type of film will be formed by sodium. So you have to answer it as, the type of film form is porous film. It means sodium forms, or sodium oxide is porous metal oxide film. If you have to identify the reactions, you have to see the valency. Sodium is having monovalent. Its valency is 1 because it is present in first group, S block. Oxygen is having valency as 2. So remember that one oxygen atom will require 2 sodium atoms. Double proportion will be required. So as here we can write Na plus O2, it gives Na2O, sodium oxide. Similarly, if it is magnesium and oxygen, 1:1 proportion is required. One oxygen, we are not writing in atomic form, it is in molecular form. So one oxygen, so here it is I'm talking you about the molecular atomic forms, one magnesium atom and one oxygen atom. But here in the molecular form, you have to write it accordingly. We have to identify the number of molecules. Okay, the number of atoms in the molecule. So magnesium and oxygen, two magnesium atoms, one oxygen molecule. It means two oxygen atoms will be there. And in this way, magnesium oxide will be formed. So you need to write, or we can say identify these reactions also, which is a very simple topic. Simple one. The next is non-porous or protective film. As the name implies, non-porous, it means it doesn't have any holes. So that film will act as a protective film. That film will be a very stronger one. That will act as a protective film, and further corrosion will not occur. Because whatever the once the metal oxide film will be formed, from that or afterwards, no oxygen can pass through that film and it cannot reach to the metal. So further corrosion will not occur and it will stop. So in this way, we can say there will be no further corrosion. Okay. Examples for this we have to remember as, okay, you may find difficulty in memorizing these particular examples for some time. So just wait. Chromium, tin, zinc, lead, aluminium, nickel, copper, stainless steel. Okay, iron from stainless steel. In the previous topic we have seen, the previous concept of porous film, we have seen iron from steel, and this is stainless steel. Monoel metal, bronze, aluminum alloys, etc. So aluminum alloys, lead, bronze, nickel, such type of molecules, such type of metals are forming this non-porous or protective film. So as I have explained, what we require to remember the reactions and the examples. So reactions can be easily written. Just you have to balance it as per, how to balance it? As per the valency of that particular metal. So we can write the reactions as, suppose it is aluminum, then it can form aluminum oxide, and accordingly we have to balance the oxygen amount. Similarly, if it is zinc, then it will be zinc oxide. Then accordingly, we can identify the reactions, correct reactions, and the type of metal oxide film. Okay. The next is unstable metal oxide film. As the name implies, unstable, it means it is not stable. It is so unstable that it immediately converts back. Okay. It immediately converts back to original reactants. For example, if metal and oxygen are forming metal oxides, immediately, once there is a formation of metal oxide, it immediately converts back into original reactants. And that's why no corrosion occurs, because there is no corrosion reaction. Because that is so unstable, it immediately converts back. So that's why there is no corrosion for this case. And we can say if the oxide film is unstable, it decomposes back into metal and oxygen, and that's why there is no corrosion. Okay, and the examples for this, they are very easy to remember. Which are that examples? Gold, platinum, and silver are the examples for this type of metal oxide film. Okay, we'll remember it. Next is volatile metal oxide film. Volatile, the name implies it is volatile in nature. It evaporates in the atmosphere automatically. So what will happen? If such a film is there, then the corrosion will be faster. Corrosion will continue. Why it will continue? The reason is, once there is a formation of volatile metal oxide film, but that film is volatile, that's why it will evaporate. And fresh metal will be in contact with the oxygen or air, and that's why further corrosion will continue. That will also evaporate, and that's why the entire metal may undergo corrosion. Okay. So this case will happen due to the volatile metal oxide film, and that's why faster corrosion is expected. And the example of this type is molybdenum. Okay, molybdenum is the metal, or MO is the example. MO doesn't means this is molybdenum oxide. M and O is the symbol for molybdenum, and this is oxygen, and this is the we can say formula for molybdenum oxide, MO2O3. Like Al2O3, okay, MO2O3, similarly Al2, like Al2O3 we can say. So this is the molecule which forms volatile metal oxide film. Now we'll see how to remember them. What are the examples for porous? Do you remember? Sodium, then magnesium, potassium, calcium. What are the examples for volatile metal oxide film? Oh, molybdenum. Molybdenum oxide. This is the molybdenum. Unstable, silver, gold, and platinum. Their symbols, you know, silver Ag, gold Au, and platinum. Now, whatever the remaining are there, like aluminium, then zinc, then chromium, nickel, okay, copper, monoel metal, aluminum alloys, bronze. Okay, so these examples are coming under this particular category. So in this way, it is very easy to memorize these examples, and these examples are likely to be asked in examination. Okay, so now we'll see about the Pilling-Bedworth rule. So what is this Pilling-Bedworth rule or PB ratio or PB rule? It is the ratio of volume of metal oxide formed to the volume of metal consumed. Simple one. I will give you a formula and then we'll come to the statement. You have to just remember this formula as a statement. PB rule or PB ratio, PBR equal to volume of metal oxide formed divided by volume of metal consumed. And that we have to write as a statement. It is the ratio of metal oxide formed or volume of metal oxide formed to the volume of metal consumed. Just we have to remember the formula and accordingly we have to write the statement if required, or we have to identify from the given options. So mainly what happens, there are we can say various options, various possibilities. So if PBR is less than 1, if PBR is less than 1, then metal oxide film is porous. Then MO stands for metal oxide. Metal oxide film form will be porous. If PBR is more than 1, then it will be non-porous. Okay. If PBR is more than 2, it will be non-porous. Okay, it will be non-porous, but the problem is it forms some cracks. That film forms some cracks, and that's why though the film is non-porous, but due to formation of cracks, there is no further prevention of corrosion. So that film will not protect. It means it is expected that the PBR should be between 1 to 2, then that metal will have better protection, or metal oxide will protect that metal from further corrosion. Once you remember the single thing, single concept, or only one thing, other thing will be memorized automatically. For example, if you remember if PBR is less than 1, metal oxide film will be porous. If it is more than 1, then it will be non-porous or protective. You can remember at least first 2 lines. Okay, so let us see the examples. Various alkali and alkaline earth metals can show the porous or non-protective type of films like lithium, sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium, etc. So we can have some molecules at a glance. Okay, so these are some molecules which are having the respective metal oxide. We can say PB ratio for copper oxide to copper is 1.68. Metal oxide to metal ratio, metal consumption. Okay, so these are just for, this may not be asked in the, because this is this type of questions, that what is the score for the copper oxide to copper or calcium oxide to calcium, that is not expected in the examination. But what type of metal oxide is formed, whether the PB ratio is less than 1 or more than 1, that can be asked, and that can be predicted from the nature of metal oxide film or types of metal oxide film. Now, various other gases or various gases other than oxygen, how they are responsible for corrosion. In this case, what happens? What is expected? Examiners expect that we should write the reactions. It means you should know the reactions. So here, the reactions can be very easily written, and we have to remember that the halogens or chlorine, the various sulfur-containing gases, hydrogen and carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, they can react with the metal, and there is corrosion. So how it is possible? Will be slightly faster. Okay, I will just tell you the reaction. though the description is known to you or you know it already, but what is expected, main thing is reactions. It means if there is a metal and chlorine or metal and halogen react together to form metal chloride. So you can select any metal, either it may be magnesium chloride formation or Fe and chlorine to form Fe chloride, FeCl2 or FeCl3 formation. So these type of reactions can be possible due to attack of halogens or chlorine. Then sulfur containing gases, mainly SO2 and SO3 gases will be responsible for corrosion, and they can attack on the machinery parts, and that's why there is a corrosion. And if moisture is present, then there will be faster corrosion. Okay, you can see if there is a iron, then hydrogen sulfide will react, or we can say SO2 and SO3 gases will also react with the iron, and they can form the respective compounds. In this case, iron sulfide is formed, FeS is formed. So this iron has been corroded, iron has been converted into this corroded form, and that's why it is not good. If you see another reactions, that sulfur dioxide can convert into sulfur trioxide, and in presence of water it becomes H2SO4. H2SO4 formation, it means in the form of moisture it will be available, and that metal and sulfate will form metal sulfate. So H2SO4 is a stronger acid and it can be formed, so it can have intense attack or stronger attack on the metal surface. In this way, sulfur containing gases are also responsible. Hydrogen may lead to decarburization. Decarburization means removal of carbon atom from the steel especially. Suppose this is the carbon from steel and the hydrogen will pass inside the steel or react with the carbon from steel, and there is formation of methane. And this process is called as decarburization, means a removal of carbon. Decarburization means loss of carbon or removal of carbon. Okay. The next is in the same part for hydrogen, it is hydrogen embrittlement. What is meant by embrittlement? The metal becomes brittle due to attack of hydrogen. It means hydrogen can attack on the metal and that metal part can become weak. Okay. That can become weak or that can become brittle. So that is called as hydrogen embrittlement. Then carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide are also responsible for corrosion. For example, carbon from steel. You know that steel contains carbon and iron. So this carbon is present in the steel.
You may think it's carbon only, no problem. But it's not like that.
If there is a decomposition of any component from the alloy, it is not beneficial or it is always harmful. So there is a destruction of this carbon. Carbon and carbon dioxide are reacting to form carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is harmful pollutant. Okay. That is one thing. And another damage is this carbon has been decomposed. It means our steel is becoming weak or that can be destructed. Similarly, iron from steel that can also combine with the carbon dioxide forming FeO as a corrosion product and carbon monoxide is formed. It means in this way, the various gases other than oxygen are responsible for corrosion. Now, the wet corrosion or electrochemical corrosion or immerse corrosion. So, it is nothing but the destruction of metal by electrochemical reactions occurring on the metal in presence of various liquid medium or aqueous conducting medium with formation, and there is formation of anodic and cathodic areas. It means if there is a liquid medium, there will be formation of some cells, some batteries. Batteries will be formed automatically, and there will be formation of anodic and cathodic areas on the metal surface. It means there will be formation of battery, there will be formation of anode and cathode, and that may undergo corrosion. Now that may be responsible for further corrosion. So let us see here. The question may be explain how wet corrosion occurs if it could be a theoretical question. Otherwise, the specific questions will be asked. Remember that if mechanism of wet corrosion is for your syllabus, mechanism of wet corrosion, then this part is different and this part is different. This is not the mechanism part. We are just discussing about the how wet corrosion occurs. Mechanism part is somewhat different. Okay. So you should understand it properly. So wet corrosion occurs in the two ways, that has two types. Either it can have galvanic cell formation or concentration cell formation. Galvanic cell means two different metals. It means the two electrodes are of different material or metal, and concentration cell means both electrodes are of same metal. So we'll see how galvanic cell will form. It means if two different metals are present, then naturally galvanic cell formation may be possible How? When two dissimilar metals are in contact with each other. It means if you are connecting the pipes, two pipes are being connected, and one is suppose steel pipe and other is steel and brass. It means any of the combination you can make. If two different metals are there, then what will happen? These two different metals are acting as two electrodes. When water is flowing from that when water is flowing from that water pipeline or pipeline, then there will be formation of galvanic cell automatically. And out of the two metals, one will act as anode. Out of these two, which will act as anode? The one which is present upper in the galvanic series. Okay. The metal which is present upper in the galvanic series, that will undergo corrosion as compared to the another metal. That means out of the two metal, though any of the metal gets corroded, it is the problematic, it is the leak, and there are chances of leakage. Then the next is stressed and unstressed part of same metal. Stressed and unstressed part of same metal. It means we can see, so I can show you some examples. Okay, a stress part means worked part. Suppose there is a metal sheet and it is bent, it is folded. So the folded part that will act as a stress part. For example, here the nail is given. You can see the threads at the nail. So this threaded part will act as a stress part, and more corrosion will occur there as compared to the remaining part. The third is impurities in metal. If metal sheet is there and it contains some impurities, then that impurity will act as one metal and other material will act as another metal, and in this way there is formation of galvanic cell naturally, and there is formation of some corrosion. Similarly, concentration cell corrosion may be there. It is due to differential aeration corrosion, or we can say different concentrations of oxygen on the metal surface. So remember only one part, only one sentence in entire thing here, that poorly oxygenated area gets corroded here, because it is, we are talking about wet corrosion. It means some moisture or some humid conditions are there, and that's why the corrosion will be more in the poor oxygen area or where the oxygen is less. So partial immersion of water, metal in the water. If metal is deep into water, then that thing. Partial burial of metal in the ground, like electricity pole, telephone poles, that can be available in the, that can be deep inside the earth. Then the next is crevices, or the gaps between the joints. Okay, crevices. Crevices means gaps between the joints. So within that area, there will be poor oxygen content, less amount of oxygen, and that's why corrosion will be faster in that poorly oxygenated area. Similarly, oxide film is available on the metal surface and that is partially ruptured. Then here it will be more oxygen, so there will be less corrosion. But here you can see these lower arrows. These are having lower oxygen content, and that's why poorly oxygenated area will be there, and there will be faster corrosion in the poorly oxygenated area. It means this particular sentence is to be applied for all these terms. Okay. Now, the next corrosion is microbiological corrosion. As the name implies, this type of corrosion causes deterioration of metal. It means destruction of metal directly or indirectly by various microbes. It means microorganisms. It may be various bacteria, algae, fungi, molds, or any fungi, etc. So, depending upon whether the microorganisms are in presence or absence of air, that can have two types. And there are two types as aerobic condition and anaerobic condition. What is meant by aerobic condition? Aerobic means in presence of air, or anaerobic means in absence of air. Okay. So there are some bacteria which can survive without oxygen also. Yes, there are some bacteria which can survive, which can work. It means whatever they can live. So they can survive without oxygen also, that are known as anaerobic bacteria. It is easy to remember, aerobic and anaerobic. So here it is anaerobic bacteria. So such type of bacteria may react with the steel, or we can say corrosion of iron or steel can be caused by sulfate reducing microorganisms. These particular examples are given, and they grow in anaerobic condition. These microorganisms grow at the pH range around 5 to 9. It means in slightly acidic and slightly basic. It means borderline range 5 to 9 pH. And the temperature is between 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. Within this range, there will be corrosion. So here we can say that anodic solution of iron. If there is anodic solution of iron, then these bacteria will be responsible for corrosion. Then similarly, we can say that aerobic condition. The aerobic bacteria can be there, such as sulfur microorganisms like bacteria of the group. This is the thiobacillus oxide, the thiobacillus. So they oxidize the sulfur which is present in the cells to sulfuric acid. So sulfur is converted into sulfuric acid, and that's why you know that sulfuric acid is a strong acid, and that's why they can acting as, or they can be responsible for intense attack on the metal surface, and that's why these type of bacteria can also be responsible for corrosion. So these aerobic bacteria consume oxygen and thereby decreasing the oxygen content on the medium, and that's why there can be further corrosion, or we can say there can be corrosion of metal due to aerobic conditions or in presence of air. Okay. Now, very important point, it is factors affecting corrosion. As you know, there are two type of factors. Factors means which are the various things which are responsible for corrosion. So these are some of the things responsible for corrosion, that are nature of metal and nature of environment. So on the basis of nature of metal and on the basis of nature of environment, there are some different parameters, and you must remember them. On the basis of nature of metal, there will be these particular parameters or factors, which are them: position of metal in the galvanic series, relative areas of cathode and anode, okay, purity of metal, physical state of metal, nature of metal oxide film. While nature of environment, it means nature of metal related to the quality of metal or the type of metal, nature of metal. There are these particular examples, or we can say parameters. And related to environment, it means environmental conditions, temperature, moisture, pH, and etc. So these are the environmental conditions, so that are to be classified under the nature of environment. So we'll see it one by one. Remember it very properly. This is very important topic. Position of metal in galvanic series. If the two or multiple metals are there, suppose these are the four metals which are present in the galvanic series. So out of the four metals, the one which is present upper in the galvanic series, that will undergo faster corrosion. And more the difference between their positions, if the two metals are acting as cathode and anode, suppose out of these four metals. So out of these four metals, suppose the combination of a cathode and anode is this topper and lower metal, then there is a larger gap. So the battery output or the corrosion rate will be faster for such a metals where there is a more difference in the positions. The next is relative areas of anode and cathode. Generally, we think that as the corrosion occurs on anode, so if an anode is larger, corrosion is faster. That is your assumption, or that may be your assumption, but that is not the case. You think that, you find that if anode is there, so I will show you. If this is an electrode as anode, and if this is the electrode as cathode, suppose I am showing the different sizes. Let us see. So if cathode is larger in size, then what happens? There will be more electron demand, because positive species will come to this cathode for the electron gain, electron demand. Okay, there is electrolytic solution. I'm not showing that particular part. So as electrolytic solution is available here, that this anode passes into solution, and that electrons are circulated through external circuit on this particular electrode. Okay. So when electrons are coming here on the cathode, there will be more electron demand because of bigger size cathode. So if cathode is very larger, there will be more electron demand, and that's why anode has to undergo faster corrosion. And in that case, the rate of corrosion is faster. It means if cathode is of larger size, the rate of corrosion is fast. Then the purity of metal. If metal is pure, then the rate of corrosion is slower. If metal is impure, then the faster corrosion will be taking place, right? Then the physical state of metal. Physical state, it means appearance, whether the metal surface is smooth or rough. If the metal surface is smooth, then slower corrosion will take place. If metal surface is rough, then faster corrosion will take place. If metal particles are smaller in size, then faster corrosion will be there. If they are bigger in size, then slower corrosion is expected because of surface area. Nature of oxide film, we have seen it. If metal oxide film is porous, faster corrosion. If metal oxide film is non-porous, slower corrosion. Similarly, the nature of environment, the temperature is more, corrosion is more, because metal becomes active at higher temperature conditions. Moisture, if moisture is more, the corrosion rate will also be more, because in humid condition, there will be faster corrosion. Why there will be faster corrosion? Why there will be faster corrosion? Because of presence of moisture, there will be formation of anodic and cathodic areas, and wet corrosion will take place. pH, generally in acidic medium, corrosion is faster. It means in lower pH, corrosion is faster, but each metal may have some optimum pH range in which the corrosion is minimum, and below or above which the corrosion rate is faster. Conductivity of corroding medium. If conductivity of corroding medium is more, then the corrosion rate also be more. And nature of ions. If there are acidic ions, then the faster corrosion. If there are alkaline or basic ions present in the medium, then or in the solution, then there will be slower corrosion. So it is all about the nature of environment, or we can say the factors affecting corrosion. Now, the last part is there, which is related to methods for corrosion control. So we'll see it. If you want to see the detailed lectures, so detailed lectures are available on our channel. So you go through it. Okay. So first of all, the cathodic protection method. As we have to see the various corrosion control techniques, the cathodic protection method we have to see. So remember that the first principle is important. The metal to be protected is forcefully behaved to act as cathode. It means the metal which is undergoing corrosion, it means it is not acting as cathode, it is acting as anode, right? And that's why it is undergoing corrosion. So we have to do something so that that metal will act as cathode. Okay, are you getting? The metal which is acting as anode, that is forcefully made to be forcefully behaved to act as cathode, so it will not undergo corrosion, or it will there will be controlling of corrosion. So how it is possible? There are two ways. One is by using sacrificial anode method, and other is by using impress current method. So this is a diagram for sacrificial anode method. For example, we have to control the corrosion of this pipeline. Whatever the pipeline is being seen here, so if you have to control it, then it is to be connected to wire, and higher reacting metals we have to connect. Highly reacting metals like aluminum, magnesium, zinc, or their alloys, which are placed upper in the galvanic series, they are connected here, so that these connected metals are more reactive for corrosion, so they will act as anode, and this metal will act as cathode. And in this way, the corrosion can be prevented. Corrosion of this particular pipeline can be prevented. But you may ask that, what about this? This will disrupt. Yes, there will be faster corrosion for this particular metal, and this will be ending. This will be finished. This metal is doing sacrifice to save this metal, and that's why it is called as sacrificial anode method. Okay, at the end of movie, this get dies, and that's why it is sacrificial anode method. So these are applications of this particular method. Another method is impress current method. Here we have to connect the battery. Remember the battery connections. The negative terminal of battery is to be connected to the pipeline to be protected. Negative terminal to be connected to pipeline to be protected. And here there can be graphite or stainless steel alloys. Okay. And then that have to be connected in this way. So what will happen? As here we are connecting the battery, with the help of battery, we are passing current in opposite direction of the corrosion current. What do you mean by corrosion current? Naturally, you know that when this is acting as anode, so it may be losing electrons, it may be sending electrons outside. So that if electrons are being transferred it means the current is flowing in opposite direction. So that is said to be corrosion current. So if we are applying some current to the battery in opposite direction of that corrosion current, that is called as impress current method. It means with the help of battery, we are applying current in opposite direction of corrosion current, and that is said to be impress current method. Okay. And the applications. So remember the diagram here, there is a requirement of battery and here no battery. Don't make confusion. The next method is anodic protection method. Actually, this method is not for all the metals. It is only for the metals which show active passive behavior. It means this method can be useful only for a metal which are having wider range of passivity voltage. It means within some applied voltage, that metal should be passive, that metal should be unreactive for corrosion. So that much voltage is applied, but below or above that voltage, the metal will undergo faster corrosion. So we can maintain that much voltage only, and this is called as, we can say this is the main thing related to anodic protection method, or this concept is also called as passivity. So anodic protection method, let us consider that here we have to use some potentiometer or potentiostat. Out of the three connections of this, one is connected to reference electrode, other is to indicator electrode or working electrode, and third terminal is to be connected to the metal tank to be protected. And when the potential is applied, this method is based on formation of protective film on the metal surface. There will be formation of protective film on the metal surface due to this, and that's why though highly corroding medium is present in this tank, that cannot corrode this metal. But the problem is, if this system goes out of control or if something happen, then there will be very, very faster corrosion. So there are some applications for this particular method, as the chemical reactors, complex material installation in the ground, or we can say seawater, the water coolers, industrial metal condensers, pipelines for corrosive liquids, etc. Now, the last part is corrosion protection by proper designing. We can design some something, or by proper designing, it is possible to control the corrosion. So the first is avoid direct contact of two dissimilar metals in a corroding medium. As I told you that when two different metals are there, one will act as anode, other will act as cathode, and there will be galvanic cell formation, and one metal will undergo destruction. So we have to prevent the direct contact. I will tell you the example of plumber. When plumbers are coming to your home to pipe fittings, or we can say for doing some work, are they engineers? Certainly not. So they have the knowledge that when the two metals are connected, there will be problem. So they have the Teflon coating. They put something so that the two metals will not have direct contact. So these particular things should be done. If the two metals are to be connected, then we should do some something that they should not be very close in the galvanic series. It means they should be they should be as close as possible in the galvanic series, because if there is a more difference in the positions in the galvanic series, the rate of corrosion will be faster. So we can do it. The anodic material should be of large area as compared to the cathodic material, because there will be lower oxygen and there will be lower electron demand on the cathode, though there is a formation of galvanic cell, as I have explained the factors affecting corrosion. As screws, bolts or nuts are welded, they should be of less reactive metals so that they can act as cathode with the smaller area. Similarly, we can say that if there are some joints, that joints should be welded with the same metal or alloy so that there will be lesser chances of corrosion. If the crevices are there, crevices between gaps between the joints, there should not be more gaps between the joints. For example, this is considered to be a poor design, and this is considered to be a good design. Okay, you can see if such type of box type of design is there, box joint, it is not expected. This type of welding joint is expected. But if you are giving such type of weld, that is the best design. If such a type of, it means instead of joining these two metals in this way, it is better to use this. And this is again the best design welding joint. So by proper designing, corrosion can be controlled. You go through it. Especially this particular diagram. If such type of design is there, that is poor design. This is also poor design. But if such type of curvature is there, then it is a better design. So this is one example for the proper design. Wherever possible, equipment should be supported on legs to allow free circulation of air, otherwise corrosion will occur. It means if we are putting some metal in this way, then there is chances for corrosion of metal in this particular area. But if you are putting the stand in this way, then there will be air circulation and there will be lesser chances of corrosion. So this is the better design and this is the poor design. And it can be, so in this way, there are various ways, various techniques by which we can say corrosion can be prevented or corrosion can be controlled. The anodic metal should not be painted or coated. If there is anodic metal, that should not be painted, because if there are any scratches on that, then there will be rapid or faster corrosion. But if that coating is good, well quality coating, then there is no problem. You can coat it. But anytime if it gets ruptured or if it gets destructed slightly, then there will be localized intense attack on that particular position. And in this way, we can have the corrosion protection. So that's it for today. The topic is over. Thank you very much. If you have any doubt, you can ask. All the best for your exams and stay connected. Thank you and bye.